to make repairs to their houses. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Supervisor Del Mar.
Thank you. Actually, a question for CEO's office. This is the $500,000 under the program category. There's still $1 million that we can apply for on the project side.
Greg, can you answer that? I'm not sure. Yes.
Yes, that's correct. There's another $1 million available. Total you can actually go in for is $1.5 million.
Okay. So I know that two of us up here sit on the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District Board, and that was an issue that came up in regard to sewer lateral and offsetting the expense of those inspections that were, in essence, a settlement of a lawsuit. So that was something I think that the Sanitation District Board can take up and further that discussion, and knowing that that is still out there. What kind of timeline is there for that other $1 million?
Well, actually, to address the sewer lateral question first, there is one of the eligible activities under the Housing Rehabilitation Program is sewer laterals. Now, I don't know if this is referring to county buildings or public buildings, but if it's private buildings, we can actually use this program that we're applying for now to apply to fund those programs. Getting back to the $1 million project question, what has happened over recent years is CDBG funds have been cut dramatically, along with a lot of other federal and state programs. Now, to be competitive under this program, you really have to be making sure that you put in a competitive application. 2 years ago, CDC submitted on behalf of the County of Mendocino an application for public works. It was ultimately not funded. But we would be interested in looking at something like that in the future. Probably the next funding round would be 2 years from now, I would imagine.
This funding round, the applications are due April 3rd?
That's when the application's due. That's correct.
Okay. So we still have, if we were to pursue anything under the $1 million project category, whatever that may be, we have until April 3rd.
Technically, except you have to have the required public noticing.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Questions on the bulk of the funding here, the $334,000 for housing rehabilitation program. Can you go into some detail on that? What kinds of projects qualify, and geographically, where do they need to be located to access these funds?
Sure. Geographically, they have to be located anywhere in the unincorporated area of Mendocino County. As far as what those program funds are actually used for, they are loans made to single-family owners and also multifamily owners of properties. Can be whatever we put in the guidelines. Right now, the existing loan is about $40,000. I do want to mention that the good thing about doing loans is once that loan comes back, it generates program income for the county, which can then be used on other housing rehabilitation projects, which is of benefit. Does that answer your question?
Well, and what kinds of things, you talked about the sewer issue as one that might qualify for private residences under this rehab program, but what other things can individual property users utilize it for?
Pretty much anything to repair your home. So a replacement of a roof, you could use it again for sewer upgrades, you could use it for indoor plumbing. Usually the loans are between 10 and 15,000, upwards of 40,000. So it's any rehabilitation related item to your house.
So what are the income guidelines for that?
It's 80% of area median income and below. And then we also we've built in at least 2 loans for extremely low income group, which is 30% below, and for very low, which is 50%.
And when do these funds need to be expended by?
Well, that's going to be dependent on if we're awarded the contract and when that contract date first is executed. I would imagine by sometime in late 2011
okay.
would be the expenditure deadline.
Good. Thank you.
Sure.
I have to step back here a minute. I'm remiss. To the clerk, was proper notice established?
Yes, it was.
And do you have any additional correspondence or telephone calls received on this?
We do not.
Okay. I'm just about to ask for public comment, and I'll give you an opportunity to do that. So, any additional questions for the gentleman? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
To the CEO.
Council reminds me that we should open the public hearing
I
because...
thought I did that in
Yeah,
the beginning. I
we
just missed those two steps.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay, I'm now going to invite public comment, public input. Those wishing to speak before us on this item, please fill out one of these colored forms, and when called upon, step to the microphone and state your name, and try and keep your comments to 3 minutes. So the first speaker will be Ms. Daniels.
Thank you. I have a letter to submit that I'm sorry there was a miscommunication about our proposal for this Native American allocation. And I had prepared a letter to you requesting assistance. It's an official request from the Yokayo Tribe of Indians, but I had discussed with Mr. Mitchell a proposal that was submitted last year by a nonprofit corporation set up to receive funding for housing rehabilitation. If I could give this to you.
Please present it to the clerk.
And just to briefly go over it, I just wanted to impress upon the board that we really need this assistance. And last year, we wanted to apply for a special allocation from the state for non-federally recognized tribes, which is our tribe. And the county didn't have an administrator for that program, so we missed out on $1 million. The people at the state office said this was earmarked for our tribe, basically, if we met the requirements of the application process. And so I would really impress upon you, I hope you do have some plans to fulfill that obligation. $1 million could do a lot to upgrade our community. And as stated in the letter, you may have heard a variety of complaints from our community about who's got the authority to speak for the people out there. And yes, we have internal controversies, but in the conclusion, I have summed it up. After years I've been involved in this, 30 years, I've come to the conclusion that some of our people out there are suffering from post-traumatic stress. And a lot of people are not aware that they suffer from this. And therefore, they're very suspicious of any progress that gets proposed out there. And we have been trying to now work with the younger people who are more aware of federal programs and community programs, and therefore I'm hoping the county will see into the future that this will probably set us up so that we can become federally recognized and access all of the benefits that other federal tribes receive. So I just hope that we would be included in the Native American allocation the next time around. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Daniels? I know this 3-page letter has just been presented to us, but any comments? Okay, Mr. CEO?
Thank you. This is a general allocation, NOFA, Notice of Funding Availability, we're dealing with here that does treat housing in general. The Native American community would be eligible to submit individual homes to CDC under this grant.